Lester Mark, Steve Scratcher and Greg O'Halloran all have some big questions for today's Ask EMBN. So let's not waste any time and get on with the show.
Get them answered. This one in from Works, he's saying, I've just brought a new Levo and there seems to be an accumulation of mud near the top of the chainstay and the back of the motor. Can you recommend some form of protection?
Yeah, of course we can. So, I'm down at Specialized the other day.
You got your bag. You've been
bag of tricks. Bag of tricks full of mud. Starting off, well, it comes out a bit later. No, Chris. Yes is the answer. Works. Now, Specialized has been quick on the feedback from riders, and there was a slight issue with mud ingress into the motor and also gathering at the top of the chainstay, as you point out. Now, they've come up with a fix-it kit, which comprises this guard.
Yeah.
There's also a sticker that goes with that to go on the back of the motor, and this bit of what do you call this?
Moto foam.
Motor foam.
Or fish aquarium filter housing.
Is it? So, so these fit to your motor and to around your chainstay area, and they keep out the mud. Now, this is available from your Specialized dealers, and I think they'll fit it for you, FOC.
Nice.
Free of charge. And there's also a new link which is machined out so that the stones and grit don't gather on the top bit of your linkage. So get in touch with your Specialized dealers to get you topped up. But not only that, Chris, I want to point out this little charger.
Now, you know, new one, isn't it?
Now, you know how much I love going on those overnight trips. How dinky is that? You can almost fit in your pocket.
It's like half the size of the standard one, isn't it?
Amazing. So, can't wait to put that into action. Moving on to Shites Happen Where You Are. What's that?
Shite happens when you. He's saying, I'd like to know what you think of the trend of integration batteries for aesthetics over practicality. I have a 2017 Cube Stereo Hybrid. It has a lunchbox style Bosch power pack. Sure, the newer bikes look better and sleeker. However, I think it raises the centre of gravity and makes it awkward when wanting to remove the battery to recharge it indoors. What's your thoughts on external batteries versus internal?
Well, I think there's almost a big feature in itself on internal versus external. I think, I think you're dead right in terms of the centre of mass on an e-bike. It's better that centre of mass is actually down towards the bottom bracket. I actually like the batteries on our Spectralon Canyons.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're about this size. You can stick them in your backpack. Yeah. And if you've got two of those, you've got like 1,000 watt hours, which is a really, really big ride. I mean, if you think about it, on the weekend I did 10,000 feet with two battery charges.
Really?
So if you've got like, you know, if you do one day with two battery charges on the Shimano, that's probably going to be like, I don't know, 6,500 foot a day. Yeah. That's a lot of riding,
isn't it? And I think you need to think about those battery changes when you're doing it. I think when I was out like in winter, my hands were numb or covered in it. It's raining, you know, I'm really cold. Last thing I want to be doing is flipping a bike upside down and doing a load of bolts around the bottom bracket and sliding a big battery out. I'd rather just get the key out, clip, 5 seconds, boom.
But to answer the question, I think that you're right. I mean, there's an aesthetic side and there's a practical side. So
I'm going for external.
Really?
Yep.
There's pluses and minuses of both, right?
True.
But I think bottom line is, are you happy with, you choose your bike, are you happy with that bike, what colour it is, get the size right, and then Bobby's your uncle, Anne's your auntie.
Got this one in from Craig. He's saying, I love the KTM Motocross bikes, but what's your view on their e-bikes? I'm looking at the entry-level KTM for a bit of fun. What's your thoughts on this bike? So we had a quick look, and I think you're on about the Messina Ride 271 hardtail. And it ticks all the boxes, you know, for us for sure. What would you be looking at on a hardtail entry level?
KTM?
Yeah.
Cronreef and Trunk and Pols. Do you know them?
That's KTM, right?
Yeah, those are the guys that started off KTM in Austria.
How do you say it?
Cronreef and Trunk and Pols. Who started the company off in, is it Mattighofen or Meyerhofen? Mattighofen. Yeah. Anyway, I'm getting off this track here. Anyone, surely.
Yeah, it ticks all the boxes for us. Big 500 watt hour battery. We've got a Bosch, it's the Active Line Plus motor on there, so it isn't quite as powerful as the Performance Line CX motor.
But the cool thing with the Active Line, it's really quiet and it pushes past that 25k thing really seamlessly. So it's not a bad choice. Not a bad choice.
Good. But yeah, it's got all the usual good Shimano componentry on there. I think it's pretty good choice, to be fair, and it's definitely going to be putting a smile on your face, and that's what it's all about. But yeah, check them out. Maybe demo it if you get a chance.
Grim Reaper asks, have there been any recalls on any e-bikes that you know about? How many miles can you go before bringing an e-bike in for service?
Good question.
Curious which e-bike brands have the best warranty, and have you ever had any issues where you had to bring the e-bike in? On the service one is really interesting.
Yeah, the recall front, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Not recall, I mean there's failures with everything, but not just motors and batteries, but componentry, gearing, tyres, wheels, everything, right? They're mountain bikes, they get a beating.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
you know, there's lots. But
servicing, do you mean like gears, brakes, things like that, suspension servicing, or do you mean actual motor servicing? If you mean motor servicing, then some of the big brands like Bros, for instance, do 15,000 miles on their motor before you have to service it.
And the Shimano step system apparently can take 1,000 charges of the battery before that motor needs servicing.
Wow.
That could add up to about 30,000 miles, which is like probably way beyond the capabilities of the rest of the componentry in the
It's a lot
bike.
of miles, isn't it? But again, all the big brands as well, all the big reputable brands are all going to have really good warranty, so it shouldn't be a problem if you do run into one.
I mean, the thing is, well, how do you manage your bike? How do you service your bike? How do you wash your bike? I get asked the question all the time: do I use a pressure washer on my e-bike? And the answer is simply, I do not use one. I don't actually use a hose either.
Just use rainwater, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, Chris, I told you there's some big questions in this week. This is from Lester Marr. Lester says, can you help? Well, I hope so, Lester. My Bulls eStream Evo 4 2018 Mavic 5 brakes makes a rotor noise at 11 mile an hour. That's the first part of the question. Second part is, I've changed the brake pads at a bike shop, tried to adjust them, but still makes the rotor noise. Any ideas, this is the second part, why the rims are asymmetrical? Do you think I'm getting rim flex that rubs the pads? Now, I don't recall any rims rubbing brake pads.
I don't recall Mavic making any brakes.
Are these...
I think we need to decipher this.
Are we talking cantilever brakes then?
Well, I've deciphered it, and I think he means Miura MT5 brakes that he's having problems with the pads rubbing the discs, basically.
Right.
First up, you need to check a few different things. Just check that the rotor's actually straight. Although sometimes that noise will come at, you're saying 11 miles an hour. I guarantee you, if you put your ear to it, it'll be doing it all the time. It's just more pronounced as the wheel speed picks up. Check things like the wheel bearings as well, because it could allow a little bit of flex in the hub. Absolutely nothing to do with the wheels or spokes or anything, because obviously the hub is fixed in the middle of the bike, so you're not going to get any movement aside from maybe even like a loose quick release on the axle, as I say, wheel bearings. But apart from that, the Miguras can be a little bit fiddlier to set up sometimes. Once they're dialed in, they are really good brakes. And Doddy was saying also the pads can float around a little bit in the caliper as well, so just check all of that. Lots of different things to check out, but absolutely nothing to do with the actual rims or the wheels. It's more about the hubs and the actual centering of the caliper and the caliper setup itself.
Steve M2 asks, great show as usual. Wow, thanks Steve, much appreciated. I've just started going to bike parks, and the one thing I struggle with is foot placement. Any chance of a how-to video with some tips regarding this? Thanks. Chris, you're the man on nifty footwork. I think that the first question to Steve is, do you actually ride right foot forward or left foot forward? Because that's going to have massive implications on how you operate your bike, right?
Yeah, and I think about foot placement as well, pedal and how you ride.
Have you got mountain bike shoes, start off, and have you got good flat pedals?
And are you a flat pedal user? But if you are a flat pedal user,
You've got some shoes.
Take
You've
a
got
look at
some
this,
MTB specific shoes.
cover your nose, Steve. You ready? You can see on the bottom here.
Can't see anything because
These little dimples on the bottom, obviously, it's kind of here where you want to be putting your flat pedal, obviously when you're out on the trail. So just sort of this area.
So
that way
there you
it's
go.
going to allow your foot to flex and allow you a bit of movement.
let's pretend that's a pedal. So we're talking here, right?
Yeah, maybe, around there.
Around
yeah.
there?
Yeah, it's a good ballpark figure to work with.
Ballpark, I like it.
But if you're
or like maybe kind of pre-ballpark.
pre-ballpark. But if you're riding obviously on your heel, you're going to get all those shocks from the trail transferring straight up your legs. Things like that as well, so it's really important to have that. But we've done a really good video, beginner's tips. Check this one out. Okay, so let's talk about foot positioning when it comes to riding your e-bike. Just make sure your foot is nicely in the sort of like your toes are over the edge of the pedal. You don't want to be pedaling in the midsection of your foot. or on that ball of your ankle, anything like that. Obviously not going to give you any movement at all. It's going to make you feel real sketchy out on the trails if you haven't got good foot placement. To Steve Scratcher, he's asking, I have on my bike a Villiers Tristina E803 TRB, Shimano Steps E8000 and XT Di2 gears. When I'm climbing and shift gears, I always make bad shifting, but when I had my last bike, a non-e-bike with mechanical gears, I was pretty good with shifting. What can I do to have smooth shifting on my e-bike? Steve?
It's all about cadence, right? You need to be spinning those pedals, especially when you're climbing, and definitely don't go shifting gear when it's under load. And sometimes you can feel when the motor's got more load in it, because it'll make slightly more noise on some motors at least. So this is Di2, right, Chris?
Yeah.
See, I thought Di2 actually backed off fractionally when you switch gears. So I don't think that should really be an issue with your Di2 setup. So I'd actually get that checked out with your dealer or your mechanic to see it set up correctly first.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I went on Di2 yesterday on the new decoy from YT, and it was absolutely, you could go up the hill there and you could go change gear all the way up the hill without any problem at all. So there must be a setup issue, surely.
Maybe, and think about like preempting the terrain as well. Get a gear suitable for what you're going to do, rather than think, oh god, I need to be in first and clunking it up through the gear. So looking at the trail ahead.
Anticipation, right?
That's what it's all about.
Greg O'Halloran. Hi all, I have a Cube Reaction hardtail. Love it. And
Nice.
Of course you do. It has a Bosch Performance Line CX motor with a 500 battery. I have just reached the 8,000 kilometer mark on it. Whoa. How much more can I expect out of the battery before I need to change it? Thanks, Greg from Cork in Ireland.
Well, Bosch actually guarantee their battery for 2 years, or 500 charge cycles, whichever obviously comes first. But that doesn't mean that your battery will pack up after 2 years and 1 day. If you take really good care of it, Bosch reckon that their batteries will last 8 to 9 years. So it will slowly drop off in performance, but you need to take really good care of it. We've done just all that in this video here. A good little tip as well is don't leave that charger plugged in for hours and hours or days and days away in your workshop or wherever you keep your bike. As soon as that battery's topped up, remove that charger. If there happens to be a charger malfunction, this battery could actually overheat. Real nice way of doing that is by actually putting a timer on the ones that you plug into the wall. Just put 4 or 5 hours on there. That should be enough to charge any battery. As soon as that obviously overruns and times out, you can have no power going to that. But that's it for this week's Ask EMBN. But if you guys have got any questions you want to ask us, drop us some in the box below. Hashtag Ask EMBN. Then your question, it could be you on next week's show.
Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe to EMBN by clicking the globe in the middle of the screen. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. But if you want to stick around for a little bit longer, check out the slab where we show you what we can climb on an e-bike.
And don't forget to get yourselves down to your specialised dealer. If you've got a Levo, a 2019 Levo, you can get all these bits upgraded.
Nice.